Oh, and I like you. Thank you. So the captain of a ship, they tell you in seminary, start with a joke or poem. So a captain of a ship is cruising along on the ocean, and he notices on an island this man waving his hands desperately. So he sails himself over, and the guy is just so excited. Oh my gosh, I've been here for ages, for forever. I've been waiting for a ship to come by. I'm so excited about being rescued. Let me show you around the place. So, so the captain gets out of the boat, and he looks around, and he says, "Oh, what is this?" And the guy on the island says, "Well, this is my house. This hut is my house." And then they walk to the next hut, and he says, "So what is this?" And the guy on the island that's been stranded says, "Oh, this is my church." And then they walk to the third hut, and puzzlingly, the captain says, "So what is this space?" And the guy on the island says, "That's the church I don't go to anymore." Tammy told me that joke. She said, "You got to tell that joke." And I thought, after a couple of minutes, I just want to tell you how much that applies to belonging. How many times we go from one community to the next, and we are hardwired for connection, right? Brene Brown, I'm going to use her a little bit today. Brene Brown brought that up. It seems like 2017 seems like ages ago, but that's when all of that work first came out. I think this one was Dare to Be Great. And she has a quote from that book, and it is, "Stop walking through the world looking for confirmation that you don't belong. You will always find it because you've made that your mission. Stop scouring people's faces for evidence that you're not enough. You will always find it because you've made that your goal. True belonging and self-worth are not goods. We don't negotiate their value with the world. The truth about who we are lives in our hearts. Our call to courage is to protect our wild heart against constant evaluation, especially our own. No one belongs here more than you. No one belongs in this space more than you. Even if you're brand new, even if you're just visiting, no one belongs here more than you. And that's what we're talking about today. And I just want to note that in this quote from Brene Brown, do we not find, those of us who are particularly familiar with unity principles, do we not find principle in that? There's denials and affirmations in the very thing that Brene Brown said. So the third principle, we are co-creators with God, and we create that reality through our thoughts held in mind. And our fourth, which is through prayer and meditation and denials and affirmations, these are the tools we use to align with that heart and mind of God. And while we're going to talk about physical belonging in physical spaces today, what we know in unity is where we belong is in the heart and the mind of God. And that God belongs in the heart and mind of us. And that we are one with that experience. So when I began to think about this talk, what started percolating for me was a couple of weeks ago. Most of you know what masterminding is. We meet with folks, if you don't know that. Some of us are in small groups where we meet with a couple of other people or more, and we mastermind the desires of our hearts. And I have had the opportunity and the blessing to be part of a mastermind group for, what did I say? I said I've been here 20 years. It may be just that long that I've had the same mastermind partners. And they have become what Nadia Bowles-Weber, Presbyterian minister who's got a few books out there, She's a scrappy gal and an amazing soul. She's had a spiritual director for years, and this is what she says about her spiritual director. A spiritual director is a reliable witness to my story. Those have been my mastermind partners. They have been profound, extraordinary witnesses to my story. And a couple of weeks ago, I don't even know why it came up, but one of my mastermind partners started tracking my life for me. Right? Remember, it's like where you have come from in 20 years. You had this job you hated. You were in a relationship you needed to move out of. You didn't know how you were going to get to seminary. Now you are done. You are doing these things. I work for Unity Worldwide Ministries now. How did that even happen? Right? And these people saw my story. And that, my friends, is what happens in this place. That's this sense of belonging that goes just a little bit beyond, and we're wired for that connection. There's no way out of this. I tried to write, I like to write my talk so that I feel better, so that I feel more secure. But Spirit kept nudging at me, and I realized this morning why I didn't write it is because you can't write belonging, right? There's no explanation for it. I would only be up here talking to you about it. So in this sense, I don't want this to be the Joni show. So last week, a couple of weeks ago, I just asked some other people to be a part of this talk with me because you can't explain belonging. But some of you maybe here can. So I'm going to start with a video and introduce you to Terry White, who is one of our newest members.
Through watching a podcast, and I thought, Unity Church, what's that? So I looked for Unity churches in my area, found a couple, looked at their websites, and read their About page, which I thought was really important. And when I got to Unity Church of the Hills About page, I was pretty blown away. I thought, oh, this is who I am. This is who I am as a Christian. It's who I am spiritually. Maybe this group of people is right for me. So it took me about a month to work up the courage to come. I came by myself. I parked over on the side, and I knew it was time to walk in. Everybody else had already gone in, and I felt really nervous sitting in the car, but I made the walk in. And as soon as I walked in, I was greeted at the front. I don't remember who was at the front doors at the time, but it was a warm welcome and a welcome kiosk where I met Kathleen, and she gave me a name tag and told me a little bit about Unity and where to sit, what to do, which you can sit wherever and you can just be who you are here. But I felt a very warm welcome from the very instant that I walked in. Being who I am means just being able to bring myself, whatever mood I'm in, whatever attitude I have coming from the rest of the weekend, that there's not going to be any kind of judgment or, oh, you're having a bad day, sit over there. I always feel like I'm welcome and a part of the community because, everybody readily admits to, any conversation I have, I've had a bad day or I've had a bad week, this bad thing happened. And yet here we are as a community coming together. When I come to Unity Church of the Hills, I feel like I've come home. I feel like the people here are my family. I feel welcomed. I feel loved. No matter how I feel before I walk out of my house in the morning, when I get here and I walk through these doors, I feel refreshed. I feel cared about, and I feel at home.
So everybody I ask about speaking or doing, Terry was ready, but she was out of town this week. So we did that video a couple of weeks ago. And if you noticed and you were in it, my apologies. Walking around in the back there. But everybody I asked was reluctant, just a little bit reluctant, a little bit anxious about it. But y'all have seen enough of me, okay? And I just really wanted these voices that you don't often get the chance to be with in your community to talk to you today. And one of those anxious, if you will, folks, is Diana Stansfield. And I let her, the thing is it not true around here that I can say, I didn't write this and it makes me nervous. Diana can come up and say, whatever is perfect for her, that, by the way, was downloaded by Spirit, she said, and we're good, right? Yeah. Absolutely. So in this welcoming presence, I'm going to invite you up to share something. And I left the podium up there for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I think it's on.
You good?
Yes. So, unlike Joni, Spirit said, write this down, girl, you're not going to remember. So, I got my notes and I'm going to be looking at them. Hi, my name is Diana, and I've been a member of UCOH for 9 years. Joni asked me to share my story about belonging in regards to being a part of the church. So to do that, I'm going to share a little bit of my history and what brought me to UCOH. Growing up, I was always very shy. I was what you would call a wallflower, and I didn't really feel like I belonged anywhere. When I got married, my husband was a funny, outgoing guy who people liked to be around, and I was fine staying in his shadow. I found it comforting. It was a comfortable, familiar place to be. But when we divorced, I found that I had nobody to hide behind. That was a scary place to be. Besides that, I now had 3 kids to raise on a teacher's salary. I don't know if y'all are aware of this, but teachers don't make a whole lot of money. So after teaching kindergarten all week, I would work weekends at TJ Maxx. One Saturday, a woman came to my register to buy a necklace. I commented on how beautiful it was, and she told me that her choir was singing at church the next day, and she wanted to look nice. Now, if you know anything about me, you know I love singing. You can ask anybody. And after my divorce, I felt a call to find a church. I'm also a recovering Catholic, and I'd been away from organized religion for 30 years. So I was looking for a church, and a church with a choir to join? That sounded like a win. A few weeks went by before I got the courage to look for this church, and all I remembered was that it was on Anderson Mill Road, and it had an arch. So I got dressed on Sunday, and I drove down to Anderson Mill praying to see an arch. And what do you know? I was blown away. I felt that I had found my people, and I couldn't wait to become a member. Now, I had recently watched the Morgan Spurlock documentary called Supersize Me. You remember that? In this documentary, he ate only McDonald's food for a month. One of his rules was that if the server asked him if he wanted to supersize his order, he couldn't say no. I thought about this as I walked into church that day, and I promised myself that if anybody asked me to do something, I wouldn't say no. As I was leaving, a beautiful lady came up to me and said that a bunch of people were going to lunch, and would I like to join? And my mind was saying no, and my mouth said yes. Thank you, Liz Huxting. I had a great time. So, for the first year or so, I joined so many groups, and I went to lots of classes. I didn't know many people, but I put myself out there. Of course, I joined Inspiration. There are sign-out sheets in the lobby, right outside of the bookstore. Please join us Wednesday night, 7 o'clock in Unity Oaks. When Ellen Fannin asked me and my friend Emily to start a women's group in 2018, I said yes. 7 years later, the group is still going strong. We meet Mondays at 7 in Unity Oaks, but not this Monday, Labor Day. I love to work in the bookstore with Melissa, and on any given Sunday, that's where you'll find me. When she asked me last fall if I could help clean out the We Wisdom classrooms, I said yes. I discovered a passion for organizing and we started a business. When I was recently asked to join a mastermind group, I didn't know what that was, but I trusted, and I said yes. Hi, Nana. I found the places where I could be of service and which brought me joy. Some things I tried, and they weren't for me, or it didn't fit into my schedule. As a big no to hospitality, trust me, you don't want me in the kitchen. But I can stop at H-E-B and bring cookies to share on Sunday. So can you. But by saying yes to those things that fill my heart, I find that not only am I of service, but I belong. Here, I am seen and heard. There are so many amazing classes, fun social events, and volunteer opportunities here. Whether you like to sing, cook, or are good with tools, I know some patio furniture back there that needs to be put together. There is a place for you. My wish for all of you is that you will reach beyond your comfort zone and say yes. And not only say yes, but ask to be supersized. You won't regret it. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. That's some enthusiasm for you. I was thinking as I was listening to Diana that belonging is belonging is an experience that we can have anywhere. And for those of you who are new and have no idea if you're coming back or maybe won't, my invitation to you is not to try it again. I'm inviting you to say yes to those places and spaces where you do belong. The whole purpose, really, of this talk is to invite us into that experience of belonging. Again, that experience that we can't talk about. It is an experience. We know it when we feel it. We know it when we see it. I didn't have, you'll hear a lot of people say, I am home. They'll drive under the arch or they'll walk in the door and they'll say, I'm home. I didn't have that experience. And I don't think I've had a chance to particularly tell my story to more than a couple or three people at a time. When I started coming here, we were over in what we liked to call at the time the Church of Mesa Rosa, right next to the Mexican restaurant called Mesa Rosa. And I went on occasion with my family at the time, and I had a lot of stuff going on. So I couldn't make the kind of time that I make now for a spiritual community. My spiritual community at the time, some of you will appreciate this, was theater. And that is a holy place for me as well. But when 9/11 happened, I started coming in 2001, and when 9/11 happened, and I came to church, and Roderick was singing the peace song, and we touched hands that day, I don't think I was ever going to leave after that. That time was so extraordinary and powerful, it changed something in me. And I was still skeptical, you guys, because some of us have some experiences with church that give us good reason to be cynical or skeptical, or we're afraid we're not going to be accepted. So that was accurate and true for me. So I got comfortable a little along the way. And Ellen Fannin, we've mentioned her before. Ellen is responsible for a lot of people saying yes. I walked in the front door, and she was standing outside the sanctuary doors, and she does this, and asked me to be, as I mentioned before, part of her mastermind team. And I was honored. I was, important people want me to be a part of their lives, right? Somebody must see something in me that is important. And from that day forward, when somebody invited me to be a part of this community, I grew. And along the way, I got called to be a prayer chaplain. And I was a prayer chaplain for 14 years. But I waited 2 years to do that because that pesky theater stuff had kept me committed to that. And I couldn't fully commit myself. But I finally fully committed myself to that. As my mastermind partners reminded me a couple of weeks ago, it took you a long time to figure out how it was you were going to get into seminary. But that was because I was so moved to give myself back to some sort of spiritual experience that others could have. And so I went to seminary. It wasn't Unity. But I had this drive, this calling to be a spiritual director / healthcare chaplain. And when I took a break, a needed break from the church for a while, that was the time in which I graduated. And it helped me to see that this community is not a space. It's not this church. It's not these grounds, although they are very holy and sacred. It is the people who bring us together, who had supported me all along the way. So I made sure they all came to this party, and we had a fabulous time. And if you're thinking, she didn't invite me, I might have just forgotten you. Think about that, though. Every single level of consciousness in this room, whether you have been here 10 years or 10 seconds, is creating something for you to have an experience of belonging and power and spiritual wealth in your life. And we are in a time of transition here. So this is an opportunity for us to bridge again a place in our history. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit in a minute, but I want to give you an opportunity to take a couple of minutes. And here's the thing to do. If you're an introvert and you don't want to turn to anybody and talk to them, just sit with the experience of belonging, some particular experience of belonging that we're going to take into meditation in a little bit. But if you're an extrovert, like so many of us, I invite you to find someone. We're going to spend a couple of minutes to share your experience of belonging. It doesn't have to be here. It can be anywhere else. The opportunity is for you to share the wealth of the experience of belonging. I'm giving you a couple of minutes. Ready, set, go. So we have an opportunity in this moment, in this time, in this particular community, to bridge into something new. And when I thought about this piece, a download of, so this is our 30th year. Our 30th anniversary is this year. And what's 30 for people, right? What is that about? For those of you who are really hip to it and are new agey, 30 in numerology is it's a number of creative self-expression. It's a number for spiritual growth. Biblically, it is a number of maturity, of spiritual maturity, of leadership and responsibility. Many of the prophets, including our way shower Jesus, around 30 is when they started hitting all the cylinders. And it's our opportunity for that. So if we can use the metaphor, if I'm to use the metaphor of fire and how life moves in these cycles, and we're in our 30th year, the experience of belonging might sometimes come from darkness, hard times. We have plenty of people who come in seeking inner peace, solace, and an experience of something greater than themselves because they're in a dark place, right? But they're drawn. People are drawn by that warmth and light because we've been kindling a fire. And as we move forward into the next 30 years, we have the opportunity to carry those embers For those of you who are visiting, for those of you who are here for the first time, you can do this too. We can take those experiences of belonging and reach past this arch, reach past our egos, reach past all of that, and have that experience that is absolutely impossible to avoid because we're wired for it. We're wired for connection. And the other piece of this kind of worked out nicely because we have an anonymous donor who will match $30,000 for every tithe given within the next 30 days. So I sort of saw that, and I hope you see this too, as this opportunity to step into spiritual leadership and ownership. Because by the time we're done with this 30K and these 30 days, we will be transitioning from an amazing transitional minister who gave us the opportunity to look back over these 30 years, to work through all of that stuff, release those things, and we invite a new minister in. So I am absolutely looking forward to doing that with you. I love you. I am so grateful you are here today, and I want to end with a poem from someone you may know named Tammy Lorraine. Tammy and I have a book. This is not from the book. The book is called The Poet Danced Here. Tammy did the poetry, and I did the photography for that book some years ago. This is a fresh poem. When did you write this? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. We did not confer at all. So if you want to just take a breath and enjoy this piece. I've had the pen in my hand all day, staring at the blank page of life, unsure what goes where or how I fit. Stillness was my guide, sublime, peaceful. And then my ego got bored, and I gave into the boredom. So now I'm back in the grind, lost in the chaos of daily living. Meaning fell away with identity, and now I don't know what I am. Seriously, who am I? The thoughts tell me 1,000 things that don't feel right. So many contradictions, so much unnecessary angst. So who is my guide today? The silence, the noise, no one, no thing, darkness. When the lights go down and you feel like you are sinking in the darkness, what do? Where do you go? You reach out your hand, right? Sure. You were scared. What if no one is there? What if your hand hangs in the air, just waiting? When sitting in the dark long enough becomes too much, you reach out or you wither. And you tried withering, it became boring too. Ego. So you reach. And guess what? There are countless others in the dark with you, all waiting to reach out their hands, all unsure if they are alone. And each touch buoys the light in you, in them. The glow grows and grows. The silence is still there, waiting and holding. The ego is still there, bored, cunning. You are still there, holding hands in the dawning light. Community is your guide.